growth.
It's just growth. It's the young guys showing out. It's confidence. Like I said, they're playing disciplined, smart football.
Yes.
And they continue to do that. It got a little shaky in the first quarter against the Vikings, but they buckled down and they got through. And Dan Campbell showed those cojones.
Yes.
Those cojones in full view. And I believe we have Penny Sewell talking about those cojones.
We do.
Now let's hear that.
Whatever.
Wow, I was about to say something bad, but dude's got some nuts on him, bro. Like, that's simple as that. I couldn't find another word, but yeah, Dan Campbell's gonna be him, and nobody's gonna change that, and that's what I love about him. Appreciate it.
Dude's got some nuts on him for sure. You look at these. Obviously, last year it was kind of just throwing shots in the dart. Closing your eyes, throwing darts at the board because he had nothing to work with. And he was feeling it out. He even said, I'm doing these things so I know what guys I have and what situations to use. That's what he said last year. And now he knows his personnel. He knows what he can get and when he can get it. And you see the things that he's doing, those cojones in full force. CJ Moore with a 42-yard gain on a fake punt in their own territory to set the Lions up for a scoring drive. And on 3rd and 7, with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter in a one-possession game, what happens? He tells Ben Johnson,
Pull out those balls.
Pull out them balls. Dial up a pass to your right tackle. And Penny showed those hands. All hands team made the catch, got the first down, and then slapped the ish out of the defender. He
did, dude.
He said, get off me, son. It was a beautiful catch, beautiful play design. Penny reported as an eligible receiver, went in motion, faked the block off the edge, wide open, makes the catch, gets the first down. Play calls like that, decisions like that will either endear you to a fan base or have a fan base want you out of town. And we saw it at the beginning of the year. Everybody talking about it. Oh, he goes for it on fourth down way too much. Oh, he should be taking the points. He should be kicking field goals. We got a all-pro punter. Why isn't he using him as much? And now that it's working, now that he is not doing it every single time, but doing it in situations where you have the statistical advantage, where you catch a team off guard, it is impressive to see. It's impressive to see that he's sticking to his guns and he's being Dan Campbell.
That's what I want to get to, right? He's being Dan Campbell. He's pulling his balls out. And he's done it time and time over again. He's never been apologetic for being himself. And now you're seeing this team. I feel like this team's taking on the identity of this badass, unapologetic, big ball having head coach and Dan Campbell.
Facts.
I mean, you look at this list too. Like, they're all gritty guys. This is a team made of cast-offs. You truly think about it. Like, going down the list, DJ Chark, former Jaguar, didn't get the bag from the team that drafted him, even though he made a Pro Bowl with them and ended up with an injury.
Written off because of the injury.
Written off, cast off. Jamal Williams, former Green Bay Packer.
Mm-hmm.
Written off.
Never got a shine.
Didn't get a reach. Yeah, was a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Detroit. Island of Lost Toys. Josh Reynolds, cut by the Tennessee Titans mid-season.
Yes.
Picked up here. Having a hell of a season with Jared Goff and the boys too. Cast off. John Kaminsky, waived by the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
Picked up here. Another cast off. Deshaun Elliott. Guy was number 10 for the Pro Bowl voting right now. Didn't get a shine in New Baltimore. New Baltimore, it's a city here in Michigan. Yeah. Baltimore. Cut here now. Opportunity here in Detroit.
Making the most of
and
it.
Yes, even your quarterback, Jared Goff, traded alongside 2 first-round picks for a guy, the organization that drafted him and went to the Super Bowl with him, thought was an upgrade over him. It is a team of gritty guys. They all had the door slammed in their face. They all feel like they weren't given enough opportunity. And the crazy part about this, Smitty, is it's all done by design. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell chose these guys.
Yes.
As soon as we seen Levi Enrique drafted, he's a guy who sat there in the draft room in front of media is like, I just want to whoop some ass.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like, just gritty dudes. Even the head coaches. I'm sorry, not the head coaches, but the assistants, the coordinators. Ben Johnson, first year OC, something to prove. Second year DC and Aaron Glenn, something to prove. You know the story of Deuce Staley, been well documented.
Yep.
He was with the Super Bowl winning organization, the Philadelphia Eagles. He left that to have an opportunity here in Detroit to bring up his own name. You have the same situation. It's all over the place, but again, it's by design. Think about the selling points here in Detroit. It's never in the free agency meetings with Brad Holmes and these new guys. It's never like, hey, you're come here, you're going to win some games. No. You're going to come here, you're going to bust your ass off, and you have an opportunity to either get paid by us or someone else. You have actually opportunity to see the floor, or I'm sorry, see the field. You know, we had courtside seats, so actually said floor. My bad.
We were seeing the floor.
We said floor. No big deal. But you have the opportunity to get paid. You have the opportunity to get some PT to prove like who you are. And like that's just what you build here, man. We would have a bunch of gritty guys that want to grind through, and you're seeing it throughout the season. You start the season 1-6.
Yeah.
It's a tough mentality.
It is.
To like thug through that, finish back, and now you're sub 500.
That's what it was. And this was never the question of Dan Campbell. When Dan Campbell was hired, you knew he was a leader of men. You knew he was someone who would galvanize the locker room, which is why they went from extreme A with Matt Patricia and his stupid pencil and his rocket science and all that dumb crap, thinking he's the smartest guy in the room at all time, and bringing in a guy like Dan Campbell, who is a get-down-to-business, obviously former player, so he knows locker rooms, he knows behaviors, he knows what it takes in the NFL. You bring him in, you know he is going to bring that locker room together. You know he is going to get those guys to buy in to what he is selling, because they're like, okay, he's been there, he's done it before, not only as a player, but as a coach, as an assistant head coach in New Orleans under Sean Payton. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good person to stand under. And you look at, again, like you said, this team started 1-6. How easy would it have been for these guys to be like, all right, we're done, it's over, we're just going to go through the motions? No. They stayed attached. They stayed into it. You have how many rookies and second-year players performing at a high level in all facets of the game, on defense, on offense, in special teams. These guys are making plays on a weekly basis now. It's not a fluke. Kirby Joseph getting 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions his first 3 games is not a fluke, because you see him continuing to produce at that level. Amon-Ra St. Brown at the end of last year doing what he did is not a fluke, because now he is a top 10 receiver in the NFL, making plays on a weekly basis. Aiden Hutchinson, his game against the Washington Commanders was not a fluke, because now you see him every week in the opponent's backfield, causing havoc for other teams. Malcolm Rodriguez, 6th round draft pick. His start was not a fluke, because you see him come back in from injury and be that same dog who was on the field in the first couple of games. Dan Campbell has these guys bought in. He has them performing at a high level. And like I said a couple weeks ago, now they are playing disciplined, opportunistic football, which is how you win in the NFL. And it is an impressive thing to see when you have a head coach who, these guys, obviously, you know, everyone knows, the media in the first, you remember how hard the national media switched on Dan Campbell. When he was first hired, oh, this guy's a joke, looking at double shot, they'll bite kneecaps, who's this guy? And now you watch Hard Knocks, you get to know him a little bit, you feel like you know him because you're seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff. I'd run through a brick wall for this man. I'd do anything I could. I would love to be coached by this man. And now he has the team winning, which breeds confidence, which breeds more buy-in. And it's awesome to see. Shout out to Dan Campbell.
100%.
There were times this year even where I said I was on the edge of the plank.
Yeah.
I never jumped off, but I was on the edge of the plank. I was like, it doesn't look good. And then you win. Take a step back. Then they win again. Take another step back.
Watch out for that chair behind you.
Now I'm sitting in the captain's chair next to Dan Campbell driving the ship, because I'm almost willing to say I'm all in on this guy. I'm 100% all in on Ben Johnson. The guy is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
But Dan Campbell has... The doubts I had earlier in this season and at the end of last year are starting to get away with his positional or his situational awareness, his clock management. How awesome was that to see them in that game against the Vikings, their second to last drive? They didn't get any points, but they bled 6.5 minutes off the clock by running the ball and getting first downs and running the ball. And seeing them do that, they're learning how to win on the fly. It's amazing.
And again, you're getting what Dan Campbell sold you in his introductory press conference. You heard everyone was laughing and making jokes about the kneecap stuff. That's what we're seeing. This team was down 1-6 to start the season, and they clawed and scratched their way back. And like you said, Spinny, it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke because you look at these games. The Jacksonville Jaguars, the Detroit Lions whooped them up by 20-plus points. And then again, they had a 4-8 record afterward. You'd think they were a bad team, even though they beat the Ravens, the division-leading Ravens, the week prior than that. Oh, got whooped up by us in Detroit. Bounced back against their division leaders in the Tennessee Titans and whooped them 36-22. Those blowouts don't happen. I said that last week. That's not a common theme.
Yes.
Oh, the division leading for the NFC North division leaders, the Minnesota Vikings, the team with the second best record in the NFL to date, heading to Ford Field. Yes, they were underdogs. Deservingly so. They got smacked up and clapped up. Walked out of here bruised and broken because this team is taking on the identity of that badass head coach, Dan Campbell. And they're biting kneecaps. And teams, they're seeing it. They're experiencing it.
The league is on notice. The league is on notice.
We're the team nobody wants to play.
It's not that anymore.
No, I'm saying
it's not that. It was for the
No, we're the team they don't want to play.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
I'm saying.
Yeah, the team. It's not this is the team you don't want to play. This is the underdog Lions. They're going to be scrappy. They're going to fight. No, they're going to come in and they're going to beat you. Whether you're a 10-2 team, whether we're going to the Meadowlands to play the Giants, who have been winning great all year and have a potential head coach of the year candidate. No, this is not a scrappy team anymore. This is a team that will go in there and they'll beat you at home, on the road, wherever. That's what they're proving to the league right now because they're winning. The one loss in 6 games was against the Buffalo Bills in a last-minute play. The league's on notice, and they're taking note.